So now we're going to discuss the benefits that an appropriate computer science education can have for our students, families, and communities. Let's first consider our current workforce. You know, if we look at our workforce, it is estimated that in 8 years that approximately 16% of all our current jobs will be replaced by technology or automation. That's in 8 years. So that's current fourth graders. In 15 years, it's estimated that almost 40%, 38% of all current jobs will be replaced by automated technology. And then 45-year projection is that over half of our current jobs will be replaced by automated technology. Now, it was asked in a meeting I was at yesterday, what are we going to do about this? And the response that the governor gave was, we're going to get ahead of it.
That's right.
You can't wait for this to happen. We have to get ahead of it as a state. And you know, I think this is crucial as we look at issues of declining enrollment, and I think that's the issue that computer science, the beauty of computer science, as the governor likes to say, you can control the world if you know computer science, if you know how to use these technologies. You can control the world from your front porch in Russellville, Arkansas, or Lake Hamilton, or Bryant, because we are a mobile society. We are a society that's connected. But the thing about it is that we do have to realize that automation is already replacing humans in a lot of our current jobs. We see it. We see it in call center. Even though they drive me crazy, and I start hitting zero to try to get to an operator, you know, those jobs are already being taken and replaced by technology. And that technology is getting better, and it will get better. We see this all the time. I used a checkout yesterday at an entity, and I had an option of standing in line for a person or going to an empty line with a self-checkout. And guess what I chose? I went to that empty line with a self-checkout and was in and out very quickly, paid the same amount of money, and though I missed that personal connection, it was another example of those human jobs being replaced by automation. Fast food workers, this one always cracks me up, and a lot of people think about the ordering mechanism of it replacing, but it's going beyond that. It's now getting into where robots are actually cooking the food that is going out to the individuals and packaging that food. So we have that, and you know, there's been a lot in the news here lately about automated vehicles, and I'm not here to make a stance on that or say you know, what we need to do as a nation, but I will say it's coming. The technology is going to get better. You know, the opportunities for companies to utilize that technology of self-driving vehicles is going to reduce the need for those individual drivers at some point down the road. And it's already happening. Most of our major manufacturers and shipping industries are looking at how they can safely integrate that technology. So it may not be here today, but it will be here soon on a mass scale. So, you know, and there's many others. There's, you know, Hadi Partovi, CEO of Code.org, likes to talk about these are not just low-paying jobs that are being taken away or replaced. And I hate to use the word taken away, but replaced by automation. Patent lawyers are one of the highest paid professions in the legal field, but they're being replaced by automation because what does a patent lawyer do? They search through numbers and numbers of records to try to see if a patent has been filed. Well, a computer can do that so much more efficiently. Through machine learning, radiologists are being replaced. There was an institution that fed into a computer images of 10,000 lungs, x-rays of lungs with pneumonia. And that machine now can take an x-ray that they take of you, Karma, in your lungs, and it can determine with greater than a 99.99 whatever % accuracy of whether you have pneumonia or not at a very early stage. And so those are the types of things that machine learning is replacing those live and sometimes very high paid professions. So what will our workforce of tomorrow do, and what do we need to prepare our students for? And I think that's crucial to our computer science education. Our workforce, and this is the way I say it, is other people say it in different ways. I think Hadi Partovi said that it was, they're going to teach, the workforce tomorrow will teach individuals how, or teach machines how to learn better. That's going to be an always job. How to automate more is basically what you're saying. But our workforce of tomorrow will program, install, repair, secure, and improve these automation technologies. Saying the same thing in a lot more words. And they'll create even more advanced technologies that will continue to displace the human workforce. This is not new. Technological displacement is how we advance as humans and society. So this is just the next step, and I'm proud to be in a state that we're getting ahead of this and preparing our students for that step. Any thoughts before we move on about that, about how you're supporting this within your schools? Or
one of the biggest surprises and that I realized as superintendent of Russellville was how much excitement our kids have in the robotics teams that we have. Our district's fortunate to be a K-12 Project Lead the Way district. And I had the privilege of watching a Project Lead the Way showcase recently, and watching from seniors down to kindergartners engage in some sort of robotics, or at least the preparations for it, especially the younger grades. So if automation is moving in the direction as our research is telling us, and our kids are enjoying it, Anthony, it's a great future. We may not know the jobs that are going to be there, but our students, and I'm sure this is happening across the state with this wonderful initiative, they are being a part of robotics. They know how to program, they know how to repair. So they may be replaced someday, but our students of the future will be able to code, be able to program, be able to repair these automated machines. So the future's pretty bright. I would think we need to buy a new pair of sunglasses.
yeah, so also.
You know, the thing that's exciting is you were sharing several of those innovations that we're looking at in terms of the automation now, is that those may have replaced a task that a human did, but a human was the innovator behind that. You know, and so anything that we are doing now to support that innovative critical thinking, you know, approaching a problem from a new angle, that's one of the things that I love that I'm seeing students having the opportunity to do in our classrooms at the earliest grades, is approaching problems like that, thinking of a creative solution, thinking how it could be done efficiently, differently, with a new approach. I think that's the kind of task, the futures that we're preparing our kids for.
That's a great point, Greg.
In a culture that's going to see continued changes that we can't even predict.
In my classroom, when we're talking about robotics and mechanization, I tell my kids, you know, you may not get that job that mechanized thing has taken over, but you can be the person that taught it what to do and how to do it.
That's a great point.
And how to do it better.
And how to do it better, yes.
So Karma, you know, I think this next session is, or portion of this session is really, this was the reason I was so glad that you were able to join us, and it's really talking about that promotion of computer science. Obviously, our counselors have and administrators have a huge impact, and I don't want to diminish the impact that they can, or you know, that they do have over what courses students take. You know, I often say that our counselors are the gatekeepers to enrollment, and they are. And we obviously have to have the administrator support, but it also goes back to teachers primarily. If teachers can create the demand with those students, the counselors and the administrators will come on board, and they'll find a way to support that. And that is crucial. Teachers have such an awesome responsibility and power to encourage students, to encourage a diverse group of students, and that's really what this next session is about. And you know, this statistic always kind of, when I see it, and it's provided by code.org, but I didn't even realize this when I first took this position, but students across the nation rank computer science among their favorite subjects behind only art and music. I think that's a very powerful statement when we look at, you know, what are we doing as a state to encourage that enrollment? Are we facilitating our students to be able to take what they're excited about, or are we stifling that availability? And you know, and it goes back to creating that demand by parents. 90% of our parents want schools to teach computer programming. Obviously, in our state, it's a mandate at a high school level, but we can do better. Yes. We can have more opportunities. Currently, 71% of all U.S. jobs require digital skills. High-skilled computing occupations are the fastest growing, best paying, and largest sector of all new wages in the U.S. I tell people in the computer science field that they will not have trouble finding a job in the future. If they have certain skills within computer science, they definitely, and they can kind of write their own check. If you're a cybersecurity specialist right now, you can write your check to pretty much go wherever you want and get paid big bucks.
That's right.
And then learning computer science. And this is the thing that I think is that cross-curriculum piece of it. It develops computational thinking. We know that. I said it earlier. Computer science is just a digital application of mathematics, sequential, algorithmic thinking, and problem-solving skills. That's a big issue as we move forward with the next workforce, is we are trying to make our students problem solvers. You know, we say that all the time, but it doesn't matter what job comes down the road. If they are critical thinkers and they have those skill sets and they're problem solvers that will persevere through those problems and look for solutions, it doesn't matter what jobs come up. They can find an entry point.
And that's why it's so important that we introduce this at the youngest age as possible.
Yes, yeah, wholeheartedly agree, and that's how we're going to grow the program systemically, is making sure that at lower levels, that they, at the earlier grades, that they have an appropriate understanding of computer science.
Agreed.
It engages students by appealing to their curiosity. I have a 9-year-old, and sometimes we have to limit screen time with him. You know, my older boy, he loves books, and he'll read books all day long if you let him, which I'm very proud of. My youngest one, not so much. He loves that screen time. Sometimes we have to limit that. But this engages students like him in a format that he's comfortable with, that he enjoys being on. And let's take that screen time, and that's the thing about it. If he's doing productive work, I don't limit screen time. Now, if he's watching a certain company's videos all day long, then we may. And it's easier and more naturally acquired at a young age. You know, that's not saying that you can't teach the older students, but it's going back to what you were saying. We have to get this thought process in at an earlier age. So let's talk about our progress in Arkansas, because as I said earlier, you know, Arkansas is leading the nation in computer science education. That's not just myself and the governor saying that. That is Code.org, that's Wired Magazine, that's multiple entities that share that information. The year prior to the governor's announcement of this initiative, we had approximately 1,100 students taking a high-quality computer science course. Just so everybody's aware, we don't consider, while typing and word processing and spreadsheet processing are all important skills, they're not computer science. They're digital literacy skills that are important to computer science, but they're not computer science at a high school level. So we identified through our computer science task force what we consider baseline courses, and we looked at the higher level skills that are in computer science: networking, programming, information security, things of that nature. And we identified those courses, and the year prior to this initiative, we had approximately 1,100 students taking those courses across the state. 1 year, and this is such an important piece that when I go out and talk nationally, that I share with other states about access. 1 year, by just saying that every school had to make at least one computer science course available to their students, we quadrupled the number of students, almost quadrupled the number of students taking computer science, just by having accessible. We continue to increase and promote. The governor, through his coding tour stops, has done a great job of getting out and individually promoting this. We increased to 5,500 students last year. And this current year, under Cycle 2 numbers, we had approximately 6,200 students, unique students, taking a computer science. Now, there are actually more credits being taken because some of those students are taking, a good portion of those students are taking 2 credits.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just a phenomenal increase. That's why we continue to get national accolades. The nice thing about that is the jobs are continuing to increase. We still have a long way to go, but it is estimated by 2020 that there will be over 1 million jobs that require computer science background across our nation. Right now in Arkansas alone, there are over 3,000 jobs open that require some type of computer science prowess. So with that, I'm going to share a little bit of a short video that we put in theaters as a promotional video, and then we're going to come back and talk about best practices that you all see of how to promote computer science in your individual roles. That video was actually a shorter version of the video that the governor shows at the coding tour stops that he goes to. And the great thing about that video, which it doesn't show on the shorter version, but every individual, every company in that video, they're Arkansas based. So, you know, companies in Conway, right next to Russellville, companies in Northwest Arkansas. There are opportunities here in our state for our students. And I just want to kick it to y'all for a little bit to talk about what suggestions you have for promoting in your local schools. Obviously, ADE is doing what we can do a better job, but it ultimately comes to how we can better support you, because your parents and communities trust you more and listen to you, and y'all have more of a connection to them than we do at the department. So I'm just going to kind of turn this over to y'all for your best practices.
One of the things that I try to engage in my community is being visible in the civic organizations and chamber, our chamber organization. And in Russellville, I'm sure like all of our communities, we're always talking about economic growth and job opportunities and not creating an opportunity for kids to leave, but we want kids to maybe leave temporarily and still come back to high-paying jobs in our own communities. So that's a conversation that I enjoy engaging in with our civic organization and chamber. And I think the thing that will continue to promote computer science education is we've got to tell our story. We've got to be able to tell our story at each of our school districts, and we've got to ask those questions. I now, with that, is at 867, that allows that we don't have to have 6 hours of seat time in our own buildings. Students now have internship opportunities, Anthony, so they can build those relationships with our local industry. So I think the door is wide open to really have opportunities that weren't available just in a couple of years ago. Any thoughts on that?
Just when it comes to in terms of communicating and telling your story, I mean, that's the part that I resonated with right there, because that's one of the things that strikes me is how early kids decide, it seems like, whether they are a computer person or they're a science person or they're a math person, how quickly they may turn on or turn off to that entire way of learning. So with starting with our youngest grades, one of the things that we tried to do was give opportunities for our parents to come in and see, with teachers and students present, what that kind of integrated learning looked like, where we were solving problems, where we were programming robots, where we were, you know, engaging in investigations. We called it a STEM Expo in our district, and I think that was so valuable for parents to have the opportunity to come on site and see the kinds of learning. It wasn't a special project that was highlighted that was done outside of a classroom experience. This was natural integrated learning experiences that kids were having as young as, we had our pre-K out there as well, and they were solving problems, talking through logic, and it's that kind of learning that I think is really helping parents and students open up the possibilities that, you know what, I might be a computer scientist, I might be a scientist, I might be a mathematician, I might be an engineer, and remaining open to that possibility longer before making that decision early on that, you know, that's not for me.
I like that idea a lot. With my kids, when I'm trying to recruit kids for, you know, high school computer science, I talk to them about those same statistics that you talked about for the jobs, and that there are jobs available now, and that's just going to increase. It's not going to decrease. Those jobs won't be gone when they graduate. So for them to just learn those skills and be able to get out there and get some of those really good jobs, that's resonates with high school kids.
So Karma, we're going to get back to this here in a little bit more in depth, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump into that hard question. And you said that you had a background in computer science when you were in college. Obviously, nationally, we're doing a poor job. In state, we're doing a little bit better nationally in attracting females to the classes, the industry. What is key? What can we do better? What can I do better?
When I was going through computer science, I won't lie, it was hard. It was, you know, I won't say the year, but it, you know, not a lot of women in the field, so it was difficult, but it was just my passion. You know, I always loved math and science and those things. So of course you're going to attract the girls like that just already have the passion for it. But I find that now, if you can get the girls on board with, you're going to do a project that's going to help the community or help someone or help your friends or help your school.
That's right.
Girls really get involved with those kind of things. We often think of girls as being mean to each other and, you know, biting and cutting and mean girls, but they're really not. If you can get them thinking and brainstorming about some good things that they can do, they really get interested in the computer science as well as the boys. Boys just want to do cool things, but you know, it's a little different approach with the girls.
Any thoughts?
I just heard some examples from some other districts that started some specific clubs specifically for some of their females who were in computer science or engineering, and it really just provided a good network for them as well. And so I thought that was a very innovative approach that I like to see replicated in our district to support, because part of that community, they like to serve their community, as you said, but then it provided a community of learning for them as well that we really want to see replicated where we're at.
Well, and I don't want to steal too much of the conversation because we have a whole session on this coming up. So we're going to move on at this point. But I want us to, as we think about promoting CS, that's something that I want to resonate back to our audience and our participants, is that when we talk about CS for All, we're not just talking about access, which is a crucial first step, but then we have to go beyond just making it accessible to making it approachable, which is a completely different conversation that we'll come back to in a little bit.